Hey guys, welcome to Midwest Fantasy Football, Season 8, Week 1. I'm still kind of surprised that we actually made it here with all of the COVID this year and that football actually still happened. But I'm pretty thrilled about it nonetheless. It was kind of nice on Sunday just to be able to chill, sit on the couch, have a few beers, watch the Packers womp on the Vikings, normal things. You may notice I'm not in my office at the moment. I'm currently sitting in the basement. My wife was tired of listening to me all the time on conference calls, so she kicked me out of the office, and I'm currently residing in the basement. But she did give me this lovely wall behind here filled with all of her trophies. Unfortunately, I don't have any fantasy football trophies to put up there at the moment. My colony one for work that I won last year is actually too big to fit back there, and so I had to find something. So I do have this little guy. It's what's left of the base from last year's trophy. The other one is out there, so I thought I'd find a spot for this behind me in the videos this year. At least the ones that I record down here in the basement. In week 1, top scoring Drew's Run CMC knocks off the last Dob 130.4 to 106.9, a 24.9 point margin of victory. Speaking of those Vikings, Adam Thielen led your team in scoring with 28 points, just sneaking ahead of Christian McCaffrey's 26.9 points. Mark Andrews chipped in another 20.3, and Phil Rivers added 17.8. The only flaw in your day was Mark Ingram only putting up 29 rushing yards for 2.9 points, as J.K. Dobbins vultured 2 touchdowns from him. Unfortunately for me, Dobbins was riding my bench, and those 2 touchdowns did me a fat lot bit of good. My team picked right back up where it left off last year, with Lamar Jackson's 27.5 points leading my team. New Orleans defense followed that up with 18.2, and Melvin Gordon added 14.1. Unfortunately, I didn't get much from Boston Scott, despite being the starting running back for the Eagles, getting only 6.4 points and starting in the place of Miles Sanders. And A.J. Brown only added 6.4 for me as well. In terms of the biggest blowout this week, Derek some motherfucker has their way with Alex's Do I Say Deuce Out? 127.8 to 81.2, a 46.6 point margin of victory. Maybe this should be a thing going forward with the defending champion matched up with the Deuce in week 1. Derek, you start out by trying to defend your title with 33.9 points from Josh Jacobs, 23.3 points from Kyler Murray, and 17.5 points from DK Metcalf. You could have snagged the top overall score by subbing out Odell Beckham Jr. for Jameson Crowder. Alex, this probably isn't the start you were looking for to get rid of that nasty deuce stank.
I am going to drop a deuce on everybody.
Tom Brady put up 20.5 points for you at QB, which was 25% of the total points scored by your team. Mason Crosby's 12.4 and Jonathan Taylor's 11.9 helped save you from coming in last place after week 1. Unfortunately, most of Tom Brady's points couldn't help out Gronk, as he only put up 2.1 points in his return from retirement. Your wide receiver duo of Terry McLaurin and Devontae Parker didn't help out much either, combining for 15 points. Your best wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, had 9 points sitting on your bench. There were 2 very close games this week, but the title of closest game went to Josh's Please Not Last Again, sliding past Lee's Pass Me the Mostert, 124.4 to 120.5, a 3.9 point margin of victory. Josh was powered in dual performances this week, 2 26-point games from Matt Ryan and Zeke Elliott, and 2 21-point games from Juju Smith-Schuster and Chris Carson. You could have swapped in Jarvis Landry for Kerryon Johnson, and the 7-point bonus would have been enough to grab you the top score this week.
Next time.
Lee, you got 37.6 points from Devontae Adams, who led all players in scoring in week 1.
Go, Pack, go.
3 little words with so much meaning.
Come join us, Lee. We have Timberlake. You might as well come over from the dark side as well. You also got 23.1 points from Raheem Mostert, 17.6 points from Dak, 14.9 from Robert Woods, and 10 points from DJ Chark. You could have caught Josh by subbing in Cam Newton or Will Fuller. Getting both players in, on the other hand, would have been enough to grab you the high score this week. Seems to be a pretty common theme this week. There were a lot of players that could have made a couple moves and maybe gotten enough points just to knock off that high-scoring prize of week 1. The second close game missed on a week 1's closest game by 0.3 points, with Nick's T-Boys to Men defeating Brandon's blown call 121 to 116.8, a 4.2 margin of victory. Nick got 23.2 points from Julio Jones to lead the starters and 21.3 points from Dalvin Cook. Malcolm Brown's 24.5 points led your team in scoring from the bench, followed by Robbie Anderson's 22.5 points, again from the bench. But no matter, a win's a win, right? You had 6 of your 9 roster spots go for at least double-digit points in this win, with the only skill position of David Montgomery coming up short with just 7.9 points.
Hey, how about those Bears? Fuck the Bears.
Brandon's blown call certainly was a fitting name this week, as you neglected to set your lineup in time for Week 1 start on Thursday night. This left 2018 League MVP Patrick Mahomes riding the pine in favor of scrub backup Daniel Jones. Fortunately for you, Jones held his own and only cost you about 3 points difference from Mahomes. Where he really got killed was at the running back position, as Nick Chubb put up only 5.1 points and James Conner added only 2.7 points before his inevitable injury knocked him out of the Monday Night Football game. You have fun with Conner this year. Had you opted for either Zach Moss or Chase Edmonds off the bench, you'd have pulled down the win. In the Battle of Popes, Classic Pope gets the white smoke in this matchup with Pope 1.0's Hey Buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Knocking off Pope 2.0's Pew Pews 117.8 to 73.3. Pope 1.0 was led by DeAndre Hopkins with 25.1 points, Deshaun Watson with 20.8 points, and his running back duo of Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones combining for another 33.2 points. Really, the only crappy days came from Austin Hooper and Brandon McManus, who each added 2 points to the total. As for Pope 2.0, well, he's just making it rain fivers. One of the few times in making it rain probably isn't a good thing. 5 players on from your team this week scored between 5 and 6 points. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense. Was pretty much poop all the way across the board. The team this week?
Turned it into a regular old pile of poop.
You did get 14 points from Travis Kelce, 13 from Carson Wentz, and 12.7 from Todd Gurley. And finally, Chris's 2 men in a defense snapped the towel on Jason, knocking off your towel 126.7 to 93.6. I had to re-record this because my wife screamed, "You're a towel," from upstairs in the background of the first take. Thanks, Jay. The battle of QBs in this matchup was won by Chris, getting 31.8 points from Russell Wilson over Jason's 28.2 from Josh Allen. Chris and his running back monstrosity of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Alvin Kamara, and David Johnson combined for 62.4 points. That trio is going to be a force to be reckoned with this season, provided that they avoid injury. The rest of your roster wasn't as lucky, as the injury bug grabbed starting wide receiver Michael Thomas this week, leaving him only with a 3.2-point game and sending him to the bench for the near foreseeable future. Spending all that money on running backs meant that your wide receivers were a little thin after the draft. You opted to start Bryan Edwards of the Las Vegas Raiders, who only added 1.4 for you in your second wide receiver spot. Besides the 28 points from Josh Allen, Jason got 10 points from Buffalo's defense and a bevy of 7 to 10-point games from 6 different players on your roster. Low man on the totem pole was Deshaun Jackson's 5.6 points in your flex spot. With it being the first week of the season, it's no surprise that there were a few significant waiver wire grabs. Will Week 1 stars be flashes in the pan or reliable starters for the rest of the season? These high bidders are probably about to find out. Benny Snell was the high bid man, going for $27 to Chris, apparently looking to bolster that running back monstrosity core, or maybe likely just trying to block everybody else. His high bid left Drew, Lee, Scotty B, and Brandon all looking for alternate options. My high bid of 26 for Nyheim Hines did the same thing for Nick, Brandon, Lee, and Scotty B. So there's a few people in there who missed out on both option in 1 and 2, so they're going to be scrambling out to the free agent pool and see what they can find after Week 1's claims. The final contested pickup was Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton, who went for $13 to Chris again, outbidding Alex by 2. I'm sure that Chris will be probably slotting in Slayton because of his injuries and his depth issues at wide receiver. Expensive week for Chris, spending 40% of his budget, even though he's currently sitting in 3rd place in the standings. There were no new bets this week, which was disappointing since I tried to goad at least a couple people into them. Maybe this week I'll have better luck.
God, you guys are a bunch of pussies.
Nick's stat roundup for things I didn't cover up above. Jason and I both hit 50 losses this week, which leads me to believe that we probably have the same regular season record. Let's not talk about postseason records, though. Pope 1.0 grabbed his 60th win overall while moving to an impressive 8-0 record versus Pope 2.0. Pope 2, you can probably blame your loss on the low score you put up, which checks in at 6th lowest week 1 all time. Drew sure seems to like the opening week of football. This is your third high score during the first week of play, and your second year in a row that you've done it. Nick moves to 7-0 versus Brandon. And finally, Chris and Drew are currently both rocking a 5-year winning streak when it comes to week 1. One final wrap up at the end of this is there are still some outstanding league fees that haven't been paid yet. Brandon and Josh, you guys weren't at the draft, so you guys will still have to pay me. Brandon, you had one high score last year, so you only owe me $30. Josh, you didn't have that luck. You owe me the full $50. You can find me on PayPal, Venmo, Google Wallet, any of those types of things. And good luck to everybody in week 2.